All right, let's do this. Leaf tier hopefuls, you are in the right spot if you're gearing up for that interview.
Absolutely.
Today we're going deep with RoleCatcher's guides, both the career guide and the interview guide, made just for future leaf tiers like you.
We're going to get you ready, not just to answer the questions, but to really nail it, to impress them.
Yeah, to show them you didn't just, glance at a couple things. You really dove deep.
Exactly.
So leaf tier, you might be thinking, okay, it sounds pretty basic, right?
Right.
More to it than meets the eye, trust me.
Oh, absolutely. It's super important in making tobacco. It's the foundation for a quality product. These are the people who are choosing the leaves and arranging them and getting them all bundled up, making sure that they're ready for processing.
And it's a busy environment. You're in a plant, with the tobacco smell. You're working with a team. You got to be detail-oriented.
For sure.
But RoleCatcher points out the good stuff, too. There's flexibility. You get to be a little creative with how you handle those leaves. And there's room to grow in the industry.
Oh.
It's not all, perfect, though.
Right.
It can be physically tough. The hours can be long. And it's tied to how well the whole industry's doing.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're here to get ready for that interview, so
Exactly.
let's get down to business.
Okay.
RoleCatcher gives us 10 example questions.
Yeah.
And they're not just questions. They're like, what are they really looking for?
Exactly. So let's start with the first one. What experience do you have with leaf tier equipment? Hey. Now, they don't just want a list of every machine you've touched. They want to know, how comfortable you are with the tools, A and D, how willing you are to learn.
So even if you've never been a leaf tier before, think about anything you've done that relates to this, right?
Right.
Like maybe you've used tools for bundling things, or you're just good with machines in general.
Exactly.
You could say, well, I haven't worked with big leaf tier equipment, but I'm a quick learner, and I've used similar tools before when I was a previous job. I'm sure I can pick up anything new fast.
That's perfect, yeah. You're showing them you're adaptable and that you want to learn, and that's a huge deal in this industry.
So what should you not say for this one?
Definitely don't exaggerate what you've done. Honesty is key.
Right.
And don't just say, I have no experience, at all.
Yeah.
Even if it's not direct experience, connect it back to the skills they need here.
Right. Okay. All right, number 2, how do you make sure you always do good work when you're tying leaves? They want to know about your attention to detail, your work ethic. Are you committed to doing it right?
Think about how you make sure each bundle is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Do you look at every leaf? Double check how many you have. Even just counting them shows you care about consistency.
RoleCatcher says, walk them through your process.
Right.
You could be like, I always check each leaf for problems before I add it to the bundle. And I always double check that the number of leaves in each bundle is the same.
Exactly. You can even use RoleCatcher's AI here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the platform can look at the job ad and suggest certain words about quality control, and you can use those in your answer.
So, if they're really into precision, you can hit that hard.
Right.
That's really cool. Okay, question 3 throws us a curveball. What if you can't meet a deadline for tying a certain number of leaves? How do you handle that? That's the classic, how do you deal with pressure question.
Yeah, they want to see if you freak out or stay cool, figure out what's going on, find solutions.
So RoleCatcher says communication is key.
Right.
If you're going to miss that deadline, do you tell your boss?
Right.
Do you try to rearrange your work?
And this is where that career stages part of the career guide comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Think about what level you're applying for. A more senior role, you might delegate stuff, ask your team for help.
So how you answer should match what that job actually does.
Exactly.
What makes an answer for this one bad?
Don't blame people, don't make excuses, and then not have a solution. That's not going to work.
Instead, own it.
Right.
Show them you're proactive.
Sure.
And focus on how you solve problems.
Exactly.
You could say something like, if I was going to miss a deadline, first thing I'd do is talk to my supervisor and explain what's going on. Then I'd see about maybe reprioritizing tasks or asking my colleagues for help so we can still hit the deadline.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, number 4 is about being organized. How do you stay organized when tying a lot of leaves? It sounds simple, but they're looking for how you handle a lot of work that could get boring.
Right.
Do you have ways to keep track of what you're doing?
Exactly. Do you break it down into smaller chunks? Do you set goals for yourself? Maybe use visuals to track your bundles?
Or just keep your work area tidy.
RoleCatcher says to talk about anything you do that keeps you focused and working quickly.
Right.
You could say, I like to break down the work into smaller goals. So maybe I try to tie a certain number of bundles each hour. and I keep a checklist to see how I'm doing. And I always try to keep my work area clean and organized so I can stay focused and don't make mistakes.
That's perfect, yeah.
And if we connect this to RoleCatcher's AI feedback, right?
Imagine you're practicing your answer, and the AI notices you sound unsure.
Mm.
It might say to rephrase it, to sound more confident about your system, to show you really own that skill.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the words, but how you say them.
Right.
Okay, question 5 hits on something a lot of people struggle with. How do you deal with doing the same task over and over, like tying leaves?
Mm.
They want to know if you get bored easily. Or can you be happy doing a job well, even if it's repetitive?
For sure.
It's where you show your work ethic, your stamina. Maybe you set those mini goals, take breaks so you don't burn out. Maybe listen to music or podcasts while you work to stay engaged.
Exactly. And you can tie it back to that career guide section on work environment. Acknowledge that, yeah, it can be repetitive, but you can stay focused and motivated.
So a good approach might be, I know this job has repetitive tasks, but I like doing a job well and consistently meeting my goals. And I use strategies like mini goals and taking short breaks to keep my focus and energy up. Okay, question 6 gets super specific. How do you make sure you're tying the leaves at the right height on the stem? Sounds small, but they're checking your precision. Can you follow instructions? And do you get why doing it the same way every time is important?
Right.
Think about what you use to be accurate.
Exactly. Do you use a ruler? Do you look at each leaf to make sure you're tying at the right spot? Maybe you even mark the stems with a pencil so you're consistent.
RoleCatcher says to be detailed in your answer.
Right.
You could say, to make sure I'm tying at the right height, I use a ruler to measure the stem and mark the spot with a pencil. That way, all the bundles are the same.
Exactly. And here's where knowing the lingo helps. Remember that tie leaf we talked about? You can use that. Say something like, and I always check that the tie leaf is in the right position so I don't damage the tobacco leaves.
Oh, that shows you've done your homework and you get the details.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, now for question 7, which is all about dexterity.
Yeah.
How do you make sure the leaves are tied tightly, but you don't damage them? They want that balance of strength and like a delicate touch, you know?
Right.
You got to tie those leaves tight enough to hold the bundle, but not so tight that you crush them or rip those delicate tobacco leaves.
Yeah, so here's where knowing the leaf structure and the right tying techniques comes in.
Right.
Is there a specific knot you use that's gentle on the leaves? Any tricks you've learned for handling delicate stuff?
RoleCatcher says, describe how you do it, focusing on being firm but gentle.
Right.
You could say, I use this specific knot that I've found is both secure and gentle on the leaves,
Right.
and I make sure to apply even pressure when I'm tying so I don't damage anything.
Right.
And you can even show them this in the interview. If you have some leaves or material,
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
it shows you're proactive, that you really care about the craft.
For sure.
Okay, we've done 7 questions. You ready for more?
Hit me.
We're just getting started.
I'm ready. Welcome back. We're really getting into this interview prep now, and I want to highlight something that people often forget about. Thinking about where your career could go. It's not just about getting the job. It's about, where can that job take you?
Yeah, showing them that you're not just there for a paycheck. You want a career.
Exactly.
And RoleCatcher's Career Guide, it lays out a nice, clear progression, starting with the leaf tier trainee.
Exactly. Entry level, all about learning, soaking it up like a sponge, shadowing the experienced tiers, learning the ropes, mastering those basic skills.
So if you don't have much experience going into the interview, showing them that you're eager to learn, you're detail-oriented, and you're a good listener, that's key.
Absolutely. And then you move up to junior leaf tier. More responsibility, tying bundles on your own, grading leaves, even helping train the new trainees.
So you're like a mini leader already.
Right. And those interview questions about staying organized, handling deadlines, they become even more important at this stage.
You're not just doing your own thing, you're helping the whole team run smoothly. This seems like the time to think about those industry certifications that RoleCatcher mentioned.
Definitely. Showing them you're dedicated to professional development, that says I'm serious about this.
Okay, so you've got the junior level down. What's next?
Senior leaf tier. Here, you're not just tying leaves, you're overseeing the junior tiers, making sure everyone meets the quality standard, fixing problems that pop up. It's leadership, problem solving, and mentoring all in one.
That question about training new leaf tiers, that's important now.
Right. Got to show those leadership skills, your ability to teach and support others. Remember RoleCatcher's AI feedback tool. That can help you perfect those answers.
Wait,
Say you practice your response and the AI hears that you're not confident or clear enough. It can flag that and give you tips to make it sound stronger and more convincing.
like having a coach to help you nail the interview.
Exactly. Now, at the top of the ladder, we have the lead leaf tier.
The ultimate leaf master.
Haha, you could say that. Leading the whole team, making training programs, looking at production data, working directly with management to make the whole leaf tying process better.
Wow, that's a big job.
It is, but it just goes to show how much you can grow in this role. You can start as a trainee, learning the basics, and end up leading the whole team.
That's really inspiring.
It is, and it shows how much skilled leaf tiers are valued in the tobacco industry.
Okay, I'm pumped about this career path now. But let's get back to those interview questions.
Right.
We left off at number 7, about tying those leaves securely but gently.
Right.
Question 8 gets into communication. How do you talk to your supervisor if you have questions or concerns about your work? Seems simple, but this is where you show them you're professional and you understand how things work in the workplace.
Think about different situations that could happen at work. Maybe you're not sure how to tie a certain type of leaf, or you see a problem with the quality of the leaves you're working with.
Yeah, so how would you approach your supervisor in those cases?
RoleCatcher says, be clear about how you communicate. Do you like talking face-to-face? Would you send a quick email? Can you use the company's specific communication tools?
Yeah.
You got to find that balance between being proactive and respecting your supervisor's time.
You could say something like, if I had a quick question about a specific leaf, I'd probably just go ask my supervisor directly to clear it up. But for something bigger, like a potential quality problem, I'd send a detailed email explaining the issue and suggesting some solutions.
Right, you're showing you can adjust how you communicate based on the situation.
Exactly.
And don't forget to mention that you're open to feedback.
Oh, good point.
Show them you're eager to learn and get better based on what your supervisor tells you.
All right, question 9. How do you make sure you're working quickly but not sacrificing quality? Classic question, but super relevant for a leaf tier where you need both speed and the accuracy.
Yeah, they want to know if you can find that sweet spot between getting things done and doing them right.
Think about how you make your workflow better.
Exactly. Do you break down tasks into smaller parts? Do you set goals for yourself? Have you figured out ways to avoid wasting time and movement?
RoleCatcher's AI feedback tool can really help you fine-tune this answer.
For sure.
Imagine you're practicing, and the AI notices that you're just listing things you do, but not showing that you're always trying to improve.
Right.
It might tell you to rephrase it to emphasize that you're always looking for ways to work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. It's not just about being fast, it's about being good and efficient.
Okay, last but not least, question 10. How would you train new leaf tiers? Now, this might not be for everyone, but it's still worth thinking about, even if you're not going for a senior role.
Right. It's about showing leadership potential and that you understand what it takes to do this job.
Even if you've never trained anyone, think about how you would approach it.
Right. What makes a good teacher or mentor?
RoleCatcher says good communication skills, patience, and the ability to break down complicated stuff into simple steps. So you could say something like, when training new leaf tiers, I'd start with a clear and simple training plan, breaking down each part of the process into small chunks. Then I'd demonstrate each step, giving them hands-on guidance and helpful feedback. And I'd make sure to emphasize quality control and consistent tying techniques.
Perfect. And remember that career stages section. Use that to tailor your answer to the level of the new hires.
So if you're training trainees, you'd focus on the basics, like how to choose the right leaves and prepare the bundles. But for junior tiers, you'd emphasize quality control and efficient workflow.
Exactly. It shows you understand how skills progress and how to adjust your training to match.
This has been so helpful. I feel way more confident about those interview questions.
Me too. But before we wrap this up, we got to talk about something that can give you a real edge. RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools.
Oh, yeah.
These tools, they go beyond just giving you sample questions and answers.
Right, yeah.
They help you personalize your responses and really make them fit the job you're going for.
These AI features are what make RoleCatcher better than just a basic list of questions.
Exactly. One of the coolest features is their CV, or resume tailoring tool. You upload your CV, and their AI compares it to the job description, highlighting any skills you might be missing. It suggests changes to your resume to make it a better fit for that job.
So you're not sending the same resume to everyone. You're giving them a targeted document that shows off the skills they care about most.
Exactly. And it gets even better. Their AI feedback on practice answers, it's like having a personal coach in your corner.
Hmm.
You can type or paste your answers, and the AI will analyze your words, your tone, and whether you're hitting the key points.
Like having an expert editor look over your answers.
Right. And for those who really want to nail their interview, they have AI-powered video practice analysis.
Oh, wow.
You record yourself answering practice questions,
Okay, wow.
and the AI looks at your facial expressions, body language, your whole delivery.
Like having an acting coach.
You're not just memorizing answers, you're practicing how you say them, improving your nonverbal communication, and getting feedback on your overall presentation.
Yeah.
That kind of prep can make a huge difference when you're actually in the interview.
So we've covered a lot, but remember, this is just a taste. RoleCatcher's Career Guide and Interview Guide have tons more info and insights to help you ace your interview and get that leaf tier job.
Yeah, go check out their full resources and explore those AI tools. They can really take your prep to the next level.
This has been awesome. I feel like I could walk into that interview right now and kill it.
Me too. But there's one more thing before we send you off to conquer that interview. Remember that part in the career guide about work environment?
The part about the tobacco dust and fumes?
Yeah, if you're worried about that stuff, don't be afraid to ask the interviewer about safety measures and protective gear. Shows you're thinking about your well-being and that you've done your research.
Great point. It also shows you're proactive and care about a safe and healthy workplace for everyone.
Absolutely. And one last thing, the career guide said that the tobacco industry is facing some challenges, like regulations and anti-tobacco campaigns. Might want to look into the company you're interviewing with, just to get a feel for where they stand in the industry and what their future looks like.
That's such good advice. It shows that you're not just looking for any on job. You're interested in this company and what they do.
Well-prepared, insightful, A&D enthusiastic. That's the winning combo.
Couldn't have said it better myself. To our listener out there, we're rooting for you. And remember, even if this interview doesn't work out, the skills you've learned prepping will help you throughout your career.
Now go out there and rock that interview. Don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's full resources to take your prep even further.
Until next time on The Deep Dive. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our mega prep session for all you aspiring leaf tiers out there.
We've hit those tough interview questions, dug into the career path info from RoleCatcher,
Oh, yeah.
and even talked about how their AI can give you a real boost.
But before we send you off to that interview,
Oh,
I want to zoom out for a sec.
okay.
It's not JEST about this one interview, right?
No, you're right.
We've been talking leaf tier skills, but think bigger.
Yeah,
It's like you're building this toolkit that goes way beyond just tobacco.
that's a good way to put it.
Manual dexterity, attention to detail, working under pressure, communicating clearly. Those are valuable anywhere.
Absolutely. Think manufacturing, assembly lines, even some customer service jobs where you got to be precise and communicate well. Those skills, they transfer.
So even if this interview doesn't lead to a job, you're learning stuff that opens up all kinds of possibilities.
Exactly. You're not just prepping for an interview, you're prepping for a successful future.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, any last bits of wisdom from those RoleCatcher guides before we wrap up?
Oh, remember that section on alternative job titles?
Yeah,
Don't just search for leaf tier.
right.
Look at similar roles. Curing room worker, leaf sorter. They might have different names, but need similar skills.
Broaden your horizons, right? You might find some hidden gems.
Exactly.
And one last thought. The career guide mentioned the tobacco industry is facing some, challenges these days.
Right.
Worth checking out the specific company you're interviewing with just to get a sense of where they fit in the industry, what their future looks like.
That's a good point. Shows you're informed and you've really done your homework.
And speaking of doing your homework, RoleCatcher also emphasized that this job can be physically demanding.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you have any worries about that or anything about the work environment, don't hesitate to ask the interviewer about safety measures, what kind of protective gear they provide.
Shows you're thinking about your well-being
Right.
and that you've thoroughly researched the role.
Well-prepared, insightful, and health conscious. That's the trifecta.
Absolutely.
To our listener out there, we're cheering you on. Remember, whether you get this job or not, what you've learned getting ready will help you in your career.
For sure. Now go out there and nail that interview. And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's full resources to take your prep even further.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.